Hi, I'm Tom, and I'm here to break down questions on divorce, child custody, and dissolution.
So, Tom, a lot of trial lawyers, they used to stay general litigation. Now people got a little more specialized. Like, what caused that? You picked family law because, I mean, you wanted to get into working with the families and stuff like that. But why have people specialized in stuff like that?
Well, family law is unique. It touches on a lot of different aspects. There's bankruptcy, there's real estate, there's financial transactions that are involved in family law. You know, the law is so complicated that,
Yes.
I always say stay in your lane. There's enough family law out there for me to follow and think about rather than trying to think about, all the different stuff and all the different areas of law, like, juvenile law and real estate and transactional and corporate litigation. There's just no way that you can do an adequate job unless you're, we can't say specialized, but focused on a particular area of law. And, family law has a lot of interesting subsets, and that's what really drew me to family law.
Sure. Makes sense. I mean, because you do get to dabble in a number of things, but you do stay focused, kind of like I guess I would say the quarterback or the wide receiver, like they'll all still block, they'll all still run, they'll all still do all those other things, but they've got a specific job, and that makes sense. You've been all over Northeast Ohio. You're primarily focused in Medina, but you're growing out to like Cuyahoga County, Summit County, Cleveland, Akron, those areas. Your home base has been in Medina, and you've really focused on that initially. Why did you focus in Medina too? Was it the same reason?
Well, really, I lived in Medina. And so the first day after I passed the bar, I went up and I started taking criminal cases from Judge Collier and Judge James Kimbler. And I didn't have an office at the time. I was living in Wadsworth, and somebody recommended to me that I should talk to he's now Judge Kevin Dunn. He was a practicing attorney at that time, and he had an office space. It was probably 100 square feet that I could rent for $200 a month all in. And I thought, hey, I'll hang out a shingle here in Medina. And I've basically, been in Medina primarily since 2012.
But you said day one, you're like, let's walk into the courts day one after the bar.
I did.
Was this something scheduled out? Is this normal, or is this like?
It's normal if you want to do criminal defense.
Sure.
The real way to make your bones, as they say in criminal defense, is to start taking court-appointed work. In criminal defense, everyone is entitled to a defense attorney if you can go to jail. And so if you can't afford one, you get one court appointed for you.
Yeah.
Some counties have public defenders. At that time, Medina did not have a public defender, and they don't now. There was one for several years, but basically you sat in the first pew right behind the bar, and as the judge called cases, if somebody had applied, he would look down and say, Mr. Erb, would you handle this case for me? And then you have about 20 minutes to talk to your client about the arraignment. And then you go back up and you arraign them and you talk about bond, and then you just kind of worked it from there. And so that's really how I started.
So that was trial by fire.
It was. And I had my first jury trial 6 months after I passed the bar. It was a felony 5, domestic violence. I say today that there was no way I should have been doing that 6 months out.
Sure. But it's it really is. It's that jump into the deep end. It is that you grab onto things and run. You're not one to sit back and take things lightly.
Well, no. And it was, they wouldn't give us an offer. And so, longtime Medina County prosecutor, Scott Salisbury, he's the head of their, criminal division. And I sat 12 jurors and with Judge Collier, and, off we went 6 months after I passed the bar. But the jury did deliberate for 6 hours.
Wow.
On one felony 5 domestic violence.
Wow.
And they were split 6-6. They told me I interviewed them afterwards. But eventually,
sure,
they voted to convict.
So, you started out with a criminal. Was the intent to go family, or was there a pivot point in?
Oh, there was no intent to go family. I wanted to be the greatest criminal defense attorney of all time. I mean, that's what I wanted to do when I went to law school. I mean, I didn't really want to go to law school, but that's a whole other like subset of a story. But once I did, I said, I want to be a criminal defense attorney. And so that's why I started humping those cases. And I was in 3 or 4 different courthouses. I was in Wayne County. I was in Summit County. I was in Medina County doing appointed work in both criminal defense and they're called A&D cases, which is abuse, neglect, dependency, where the state's trying to take your kids.
Sure.
So you get a court-appointed lawyer for those too. And so I was doing those and I was doing criminal.
Interesting. And then so that eventually worked into the family.
Well, I took my first family law case for a $2,500 flat fee, which was probably the biggest mistake I've ever made in my entire life. But at that time, I was probably 9 months out.
Sure.
And, the criminal defense indigent work covers the bills, but it's not a lucrative business. You get like $75 per billed hour, which is a lot different than $75 an hour.
Yes. Yeah. I was about to say, because that $2,500 an hour, or that $2,500 for that case, I'm assuming that worked out to slightly less than minimum wage.
Way less. That case ended up going to trial, and I didn't have a provision in my fee agreement at the time that there was a separate fee for trial, and so I did 18 months of work for $2,500.
Lessons were learned.
Yes. A very hard lesson was learned.
So, like on the family law side, how long have you been doing that now?
Well, since that first case, eventually after I did that first case, I actually did I thought, a really good job for that gentleman. And he started passing my name around. And the next thing you know, one after another, people, started coming in. And then by, 2016, 2017, I was probably 50-50 family law. But the revenue from the family law side, even though the cases were the same, was significantly higher.
Sure.
And as it just continued to just snowball on me until...
And once you started to win those, and once you started to get that experience, it just builds.
It did. And I didn't really get the same from the criminal, no matter how good of a job I did.
Sure.
I mean, I was on the front page of the paper, Medina Gazette, for a case that I tried. And my big smiling face on the front page of the paper. And I thought, this is it. This is going to be my moment to explode on the criminal side. Because I was really not wanting to do family law. I was really hoping criminal was going to take off. But being on the front page of the newspaper for a case was just not enough, I guess, for people. And
so ended up family law, and away we go with it. I mean, we've taught. I mean, people are going to figure this out too as we go. Is once you get your teeth in something, you're running like hell with it. You're not just going to sit back and work with it. But with that, you've got the phrasing "save your suits for court." You're not the stuffy attorney.
I'm not even wearing a tie.
No, it's funny that the host is wearing the tie. And I found that awesome because that is very much your MO. That's how you present. It's the authenticity that you have with it. But so many people come into a law office, and first off, they're going through something. It's family law. No one's there because, hey, this is a happy moment. There's something going on there. So in an industry that's normally rigid, intimidating, you've built this unconventional straight shooting culture. Where does that come from?
Oh, it's just it's my personality. Okay. I talk about it all the time that I don't really like lawyers. They tend to be problem makers and not problem solvers. I like to solve problems. I'm a problem solver. Sure. And so when I sit down and I look at the case, any case, I look at what are the problems and how can I fix them as rapidly and as efficiently as possible. And the problem is the other side doesn't want me to fix those problems. And so what really is a fairly straightforward, simple case, if I fix a couple problems, turns into this labyrinth of chaos. And it's, it can get pretty hairy in family law.
Oh, I'm sure. Because too, the other thing is emotions are involved. in so many cases. With that, I mean, you talked about how it can get hairy with it. You say, I mean, we pick up when you call and we answer directly. You've got great stories, but you don't beat around the bush with stuff. How do you maintain that level of accessibility when you're with your clients, even though, I mean, you're a busy guy?
It's tough. I'm not going to say it's easy. But I started not doing email. I basically cut off email about 8 months ago, and I've gone to 15-minute meetings with a client. And I say, hey, write down your questions. We're going to meet via Zoom. I can really give a lot of information in 15 minutes that I can't give in an email, because emails they'll ask me a question that really doesn't have a 3-sentence response on an email. And so then my email ends up looking like a War and Peace novel. And as soon as I like finish writing it and I reread it, I'm like, they're going to have 9 more questions about what I put in here. So I just decided not to do it anymore.
Sure.
And I transitioned to, hey, if you've got a question,
put time in, we'll talk.
Just call. I meet people as early as 6 o'clock in the morning. I would meet people earlier. I'm usually there at 5. Most people don't want to have a meeting with their attorney at 5 o'clock in the morning.
But it could be a good or a bad way to start the day, depending.
But not usually after 5. Since I'm there at 5, by 5 p.m., I'm gassed. Yeah. I really just don't have, my brain basically every day turns into this form of Swiss cheese that I then go home, reset, do it again. But there's always time in the day where I have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's how I try and keep things managed. And I find that these Zoom meetings have really increased the level of what the client understands about what's going on. And plus, one of the biggest complaints that I've gotten all time about fees are that we charge for every email, right? I mean, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And so they send one, I send one back. Maybe it takes me 12 minutes to respond, and then they write one back and I write one back. And the next thing you know, you have a half hour of my time into the email when I could have just cut that out and done a 15-minute 0.3 Zoom meeting, and I could have answered all that and made sure they understood it.
Done. Yeah. And you can, totally. So instead of a chat, it's an actual talk. And that makes a huge difference in how you can answer those questions. You've also said guiding philosophy, hope for the best, prepare for war. You openly advocate for trying to compromise first. Let's save the money. Let's save the stress. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to back down if someone wants a fight. I feel like I see that in your eyes with that.
No, I love trials, man. I absolutely love them. We call it the show at the office in capital letters, the show. Okay, because really that's what a trial is.
Yeah.
It's not like it is at all on TV, but it is kind of like it is on TV in some aspects of it really is a dramatic play. Really, the only difference between a dramatic play and real courthouse is there's no scripts. Right. There's no scripts in my world.
There's no background music.
No.
There's not dun, dun, dun.
There's no Matlock moment, right? Especially in family law. Maybe there could be in. Most people probably don't even know what Matlock is. I know there's a new Matlock, but I'm talking about
the Andy
Mr.
Griffith.
Original Andy Griffith. Right?
Andy Griffith. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, no, it's funny because that's so much of how people have that perception of it, because there's been so many law shows. There's the Law and Orders, there's Suits, there's all the other shows that I'm sure most lawyers watch and are like, this is nothing like this.
In almost no world do you file a lawsuit and have a trial the next day, which is what largely, if they did a show that was based on how real cases work, nobody would watch it. I mean, most civil cases take 2.5 years to get to a jury, right? So nobody would watch that. It would be so boring.
Yeah.
You have to, just cut and speed up that action.
Sure. So yeah, no one, like, here's the filing, and we're going to find out how this ends 3 seasons later. Yeah,
Correct.
No one cares. That being said, I want to kind of niche into like the Medina thing. In that, like, there's rules that are different from county to county, place to place. Has kind of staying in Medina initially helped you like know those rules to use them to your advantage?
Yes, they're called local rules.
Sure.
I have been a strong advocate against streamlining the rules of family law and having a universal set of family law rules. It's something I've been talking about a lot lately because there's these civil rules of procedure, but really there's only a couple rules in the civil rules of procedure that apply to family law. And things are so much different court to court with family law, with what they want to do and parenting plans and how they calculate support and when you have to have your filings and what you have to do, that it's an access to justice problem, really. Sure. Because every time I move to a court, even if I've been there before, the first thing I do is I look at the local rules. And I'm a lawyer, and sometimes I read them and I'm like, I don't even know what this means. Like Richland is one of the ones where I read the local rules every single time, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. It's like that board game that has the 10-page rule book, and you're like, yeah, we're not playing this. It's more than 10 pages. and nothing against Richland, but they have some of the oddest rules about filing and what has to be in your paperwork, and I'm pretty sure it's Richland. You have to have a child support worksheet when you file your divorce. Well, what if you don't know what the other party's income is? Like, how are you going to file a child support worksheet when you don't know what the party's incomes are? I mean, and they won't take it. They will reject it without the child support like worksheet. And there's other like odd things down there.
So it's different.
Each court is a different world.
Sure.
And until you've navigated it a couple times, it can be daunting.
I'm sure. So that to me explains and I love the fact that we're starting Medina and growing to the other counties. So that way there's that learning process of that ability. So that way you don't have to do as much homework either. It totally makes sense on the growth out from the central area with that. As we kind of wrap up here, if someone's listening to this introductory episode, they're feeling overwhelmed, I'm sure. I mean, this is a big deal. There's big changes. What's the single most important piece of advice you want them to take away before we jump into the deep ends of this type of stuff in the next episodes?
The biggest takeaway is call a lawyer today. I mean, if you're even contemplating it, and I'm not saying call me, call in. I always tell people, look, I'm not right for everybody,
sure.
Right? I've got a very unique style. I'm wearing Hey Dudes with a suit today here. And I talk differently and I present things differently, and I don't consider myself buttoned up in any sense of
sure.
the word. But you really need to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. And so a lot of times I'll tell the clients, after we've done our intake meeting, I'll look at them and I say, hey, look, I know you're probably going to talk to other people, and that's fine. This isn't a used car lot, right? Like I don't do high pressure sales,
not the
right?
High pressure sale. I didn't see one of those inflatable wavy arm dudes in front
maybe
of the office.
someday, free hot dogs and burgers. But the key is the key question you should ask an attorney is how much of your practice is devoted to the area of law that I need. Right. So if somebody calls me and asks for an estate plan, I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to decline it. Sure. I don't care if they're billionaires and want me to do this massively complex estate plan. I'm not touching it because I have no idea what I'm doing. It's literally 0% of my practice. And I tell people, if you call and hire an attorney and they don't do at least 70% of whatever it is, criminal, family law, like if they're in 5 different specialties at 20% each, that's not the person you want. The person you want is the person who does it the most, because they will have the most insight as to how everything's going to happen in court, how the magistrates courts are ruling, how each magistrate is thinking, what the judge is thinking. And that is invaluable to the client when you know going in what's going to happen, and you can tell them, hey, this is what's going to happen today. Right. They feel, I think they at least tell me that they feel a lot better knowing going in what's going to happen.
Sure. Wonderful. I am looking forward to episode 2. This is going to be, episode 1, I feel like is entertaining as all get out. I think we're going to have just as much fun, and we're going to find out more information. Make sure that you have liked, subscribed, and share this with someone that you think may need this, because someone does.